I'm Cecil Gaines. I'm the new butler.
Dr. King.
What do your daddy do?
He's a butler.
Black domestic play an important role in our history.
When you're trying to beat the
You're fighting for our rights. You know what they're gonna do to you? They're gonna kill you. How's your boy doing?
I feel like we're living in two different worlds. Mr. President,
I know your son is a freedom rider.
turn the bus!
I never understood what you all went through. You changed my heart.
Everything you have is because of that butler.
Lee Daniels, The Butler, rated PG-13, August 16th.
Hello, I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. We're all familiar with the black stereotype known as the Uncle Tom. The black domestic servant who lives only to ensure his master's every need is met. Today I look at a film that is based on the life of a real-life Uncle Tom, played in this film by Forrest Whitaker, who served as the White House butler for 7 presidents, from Eisenhower all the way to Reagan, and how the changes in America regarding race affected him and his family. The strongest aspect of this film is its all-star cast and its epic scope, but those elements can also be detrimental at times. For example, the first 10 minutes of the film has to cover Cecil's childhood. Cecil Gaines is the main character, and the first 10 minutes is about his childhood on a cotton farm, and that should be done in a slow and insightful way. However, that part of the film is so rushed and so blandly dark that it leaves very little impact on the audience or even the rest of the movie. Also in that section, Cecil's mother, played by Mariah Carey, for some reason, she has no lines and barely interacts with Cecil whatsoever. Now, I can understand not giving Mariah Carey lines. She's a terrible actress, but if that was the case, why bother having this character in the movie at all? It's just pointless, really. Yeah, during that segment, I was almost certain I would have to give this movie a small screen rating, which would have been the first time I had done so, but then something happened. The middle of the movie. As I said before, the cast is one of the strongest elements. Forrest Whitaker is excellent as Cecil Gaines. He pulls off the struggle to keep up his servile Uncle Tom persona amidst the strain of caring for his family and the changing world around him. This serves as an excellent contrast to his son Louis, who becomes a volatile and outspoken member of the Black Panther Party, and this inevitably leads to a falling out with his father that takes years, strike that even decades, to mend. What works about this conflict is that neither of them is portrayed as the bad guy. They're both just two different people from different times and different worlds that are very difficult to merge together. The standout among the cast, surprisingly, is Oprah Winfrey as Cecil's wife, Gloria. It was surprising to me that I was able to see her as a character, that being a wife who loves her husband, but struggles with the stress of his demanding job and her troublesome children, and I was surprised that it wasn't just Oprah being Oprah, and I applaud the film for that, because masking a showbiz footprint like that is not easy. A large part of this cast is dedicated to the various presidents that Cecil serves over 30 years. Robin Williams as Eisenhower, James Marsden as Kennedy, Liev Schreiber as Lyndon Johnson, John Cusack as Nixon, and Alan Rickman as Reagan. This casting is a bit more hit and miss. Cusack and Schreiber are spot on as Nixon and Johnson, but Williams doesn't really look a lot like Eisenhower at all. So instead we just see Williams playing Eisenhower, not Eisenhower, if you see what I mean. The same can be said for Marsden as Kennedy. While he does do a great Bostonian accent, they didn't even bother dyeing his hair. And everyone and their grandma knows Kennedy did not have black hair. Rickman also greatly resembles Ronald Reagan, but all too often his British accent seeps through and ruins the illusion somewhat. The standout among the White House cast and the somewhat controversial casting is Jane Fonda as Nancy Reagan. Fonda looks just like Nancy Reagan and pulls out the part amazingly well, but she has nonetheless taken some fire for it. Some group actually threatened to boycott this film because they couldn't deal with the fact that Jane Fonda, who is arguably one of the biggest bleeding heart liberals who ever lived, is playing Nancy Reagan, obviously her exact opposite. Personally, I'm just surprised that anyone still cares enough about Nancy Reagan to be offended by something like that. But I digress. Even with all these historical figures to juggle, the movie never forgets that this is the story of Cecil and his family, and the celebrities playing the White House residents only have about 10 minutes of screen time apiece anyway, so it manages to keep the focus going. My only other real complaint about this film is the last 10 minutes or so. While it is filled with some heartfelt and sobering moments, it also has an overly sappy and saccharine tone to it. I won't give too much away, but it involves the election of Barack Obama. And don't misunderstand me, I can see how such an event would have a profound impact on a man like Cecil. It's just not handled as well as it could have or should have been. In conclusion, I give Lee Daniels The Butler a big screen rating. Those complaints I had before about the beginning and the end are fairly major, but most everything in between serves up as a heartfelt and ultimately uplifting look at one of the most important chapters in American history. I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. Goodbye.